Welcome to Truth Be Told. This is Captain Ron with Tony Sweet. Tony, we got a really interesting show for you today.
We do, and welcome back to 18. We're back.
That's right, 2018. Today's show is really interesting. I've delved into this book a little bit and watched some of Bernie speaking, and it's really interesting. We were just talking before we went on the air here about Joseph Campbell's Hero's Journey.
Yeah.
Did you know what that was? Kind of.
I've heard of it. I just didn't know a lot about it.
I thought I'd just take just a quick minute here in the beginning and talk about it for listeners who may not know what that is, because not everybody's familiar with that.
Right.
I remember this vividly. One of my strong memories from college. I walked into this class and the teacher walked in on the very first day of class, and he walks in and he says, "Do you guys know that The Wizard of Oz and Star Wars are the exact same movie?" And everybody's like going crazy. "You're nuts. That's impossible.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
ridiculous." And then he sits there and he spells it all out and he puts up these pictures and he draws a line between all these characters. Like C-3PO is the Tin Man and Jabba's palace is Emerald City and Luke is Dorothy. And, by the time he's done, it's like, oh my God, this guy's right. And basically what he does is he's discovered, he's the guy that's kind of known to really bring out the fact that a lot of these stories through mythology and over time have these common themes through history. It's just the general hero story. It's just like this arc that has gone through time. Today's guest is going to show us not only has it gone for the last couple hundred years or movie making years, it goes back 34,000 years, if you can believe that.
That's a long time. That's about as old as you are.
Let's bring him on and have him tell us more about what they've discovered here at some caves. These caves are from Spain. This is fascinating. Please welcome to the show today. We have Bernie Taylor, and he'll be talking about his new book, Before Orion. Hey there, Bernie.
You guys had me, right?
Yes, sir.
We hear you loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. And so when I show these slides, I'm going to kind of pop in and out.
Sure.
So you can see the images. And you start off with Joseph Campbell, who was important, but there was someone before Joseph Campbell. And
really?
That person was Carl Jung.
Oh, Carl Jung.
And Joseph Campbell wrote a condensed volume of Carl Jung's work. And Carl Jung had a dream young in his life when he was early in his life. And in this dream, he walks into a home, an older home. And as he continues down the hallway, the plaster starts coming off the wall. And he reasons that he's not in that old home anymore, but rather he's in ancient Greece or Rome. And as he continues down the hallway, he enters into a cave. And he's in his mind, he thinks this is the cave that is the psyche of ourselves, deep inside of us. And he's in that Paleolithic cave. He says that everything in our mind must come from this cave. And when in the second Star Wars episode, The Empire Strikes Back, Luke is standing outside the cave and he asks Yoda, "What do I need to bring?" And Yoda says, "The only thing you need to bring, that you can bring, is yourself, because the only thing in the cave is yourself." And that comes from the work of Jung. And you can connect Jung to Yoda, Joseph Campbell then becomes Obi-Wan. So there's some more dots for your professor to connect. and how Jung said it was, "In the cave I discovered remains of a primitive culture that is the world of the primitive man within myself." And we commonly know Jung from like Myers-Briggs type of tests. But Jung was actually the person who delved deeper into psyche and came out with this concept of the monomyth that Joseph Campbell then systematized, which created a vehicle for it to be taught in high schools and colleges, which it commonly is now. Well, we're going to go back to a cave. And earlier it said that we're going to go to the cave of El Castillo. El Castillo cave is in the north of Spain, near the town of Bilbao, in the Cantabria region. It's maybe half an hour from the ocean. This cave is very famous, not because, in fact, I'll show you what the cave looks like from the outside. It's a conical mountain. Oops, do that. It's a conical mountain, kind of like a pyramid type of shape. And within the pyramid shape is I'm gonna make myself a little smaller here.
But that's a natural formation, right?
It's a natural formation, right?
It looks like a pyramid, my God.
It doesn't look like a pyramid, right? Sure it does, of course. And we'll talk about those sort of ideas. Well, this cave became famous about 7 years ago because they dated one dot to about 40,000 years old,
Damn.
which became the oldest
A long time.
cave art or artwork known to man that we had dated. Well, this image that you see here was drawn by an archaeologist about 70 years ago. And it didn't make a very good picture for the media because it was sort of like this, archaeological drawing. And the actual dot kind of looked like that. And there's some hand stencils and so on. Again, it doesn't make a very good picture for the media. So the media ran with this image, the Gallery of Discs. And the Gallery of Discs is deeper inside the cave. It's the deepest part of the mind, as Jung would say. And if you look at this gallery of discs, you see about 80 or so red dots streaming across. There's a bunch of black dots as well. And so you guys saw this when you read the first chapter. What is the first thing that went through your mind?
80 dots.
80 dots, exactly. Well, millions of people in the popular science and scientific media came to the same conclusion.
I'm sorry, I should have said 80 UFOs. I apologize.
That's fair, because Jung said that man projects his psyche into the cosmos, and so you could find anything you want, and that's the point of it. Well, in this image, we can dive a little deeper, and we're going to find a man speak into the ear of a young boy. Fascinating image. So I think millions of people have seen this. You can now say, well, maybe Bernie's made this up or whatever. But maybe it's possible. But the boy seems to be in amazement. So we're going to that hero's journey. This is equivalent of Obi-Wan, telling Luke, use the Force type of concept. This is definitely not Yoda saying go into the cave, you're only by yourself, where you meet yourself. But we have this journey throughout time. And what Joseph Campbell said is that there's a monomyth. There's one core story that is the core story for people all around the world. And it's this journey that the hero takes. And the journey that you leave a place of normality and you go to a place. Luke goes to that bar in, can't remember where it was. Now there's all these crazy characters playing fun music. And then Luke goes off to the land of Yoda. And he goes to these strange places. In those places, he comes to face himself. In the case of Luke Skywalker, he faces Darth Vader. And what the story is really about is George Lucas, who's coming to face his father. And George Lucas's father wanted him to be kind of have a mainstream job, go into corporate, 9-to-5 type of thing. But George Lucas wants to travel among the stars, both the stars in Hollywood and the stars in outer space.
And
so he's telling his story, his journey to face his father. And in the scene in the cave, George Lucas, or Luke Skywalker, battles Darth Vader and lobs off his helmet. If you haven't seen the second episode, it was 40 years ago. This isn't a spoiler. Head falls off, and he sees the face. Luke Skywalker sees the face of himself within his father. So if he kills Darth Vader, he becomes that which Darth Vader is, and it's a metaphor for the life of George Lucas and his relationship with his father. So we tell these stories. We tell these stories about where we come from, because they're interesting. They're fun. It's a heck of a lot more interesting to tell Star Wars through Luke Skywalker than it is through a guy that's battling with his dad in L.A. or wherever they're from. So here we have this man speaking to the ear, and we're going to look at his hairline. You can see he has some hair, or does he? He has a juvenile golden eagle sitting on top of the shoulder of this teacher shamanic character. It's got down on its flanks, and this is telling us that this bird can't fly. In this altitude, El Castillo cave area, this is probably a mid-June time period. So we can time the story of when the teacher is speaking into the ear of the apprentice, based on partly on this juvenile eagle. It's amazing. It's an amazing concept.
It is.
He's telling us all these things. Well, you saw that we looked at that conical mountain as we started off, and kind of an important image, because in these Joseph Campbell and Jung worked on the concept of archetypes, and these archetypes are symbols within us that tell us where the story's going. When the archetype is encountered, the story is evoked. So when we see a mountain, we think someone's going to climb the mountain. When we see a river, someone's going to cross the river. And outside El Castillo Mountain, El Castillo Cave area, there's a river. So the hero, this apprentice, had to cross a river before he climbs the mountain, or he enters the cave of the mountain. And the cave is, of course, one of the archetypes as well. Just as the Obi-Wan is a spiritual helper who helps the initiate Luke Skywalker. Kind of cool. And so the concept, what Campbell said, is that these myths went back to the beginning. And Campbell actually searched in these caves to look for the origins of the monomyth. He and some anthropologists, but they never found it. They found that there was common symbology within the caves, and that there was, male animals when you first walk in, then you get the female animals. So they suggested it was some sort of a ritual, but they never established an actual story. They didn't see these images as we're looking at today. And we can look back at that gallery, at that image, and we can see the teacher and the apprentice down there in the bottom right-hand corner. And go back, look. Now we can look back at the panel. And what might we see? What is there? When I first started working on this, one animal jumped out very quickly to me. The elephant. Now, you guys didn't see that because you didn't read chapter 2, but maybe you saw it in some other...
Hey, hold on, Bertie. Now, I see that elephant pretty clearly now. I can see the ears. I can see the tusk. I would say that looks like an elephant to me, right? Mm-hmm. These other images are really hard to see. Is that you interpreting these, or is this like...
I've done every one of these.
Okay, so you're saying that that's an eagle and that's an older person talking to the apprentice. You have interpreted these.
Absolutely.
Okay. Because, this one's clear to me. The other ones are tougher to see.
Okay, that's fair. So here we have an elephant, which is interesting. This one has its ears, one ear up, and its trunk raised.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, I see that.
Okay, now we're going to find another elephant. This one has its trunk down and ear raised. And ear down as well. This one, the first ones appear to be like distress, alerted state, whereas this one has the appearance of drinking water or something like that. Okay? But they're actually made from the same ear and trunk.
Wow, it's like one of those pictures where you can see it two different ways. Tony.
Right. Now,
Exactly.
how long did it take you to like see these images? We're looking at it and we're like, okay, once you pointed it out, we kind of see it. So
certainly these I can see very
like this
clearly.
one, yeah. These are the elephants are very clear. But how long did it take you to decipher the other ones?
Well, it was a process. The book took me about 3.5 years to write and research. And what I found was that there's layers to these images, and the elephant is one of the easiest ones to see. But as you go down the layers and you learn about the story, because there's a continuous story throughout this hero's journey, you learn about the story, and your eyes learn to see multiple perspectives. So you can imagine taking 4 glasses and putting them lengthwise down the table, and you're standing, your nose is at the first glass. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to not only see those glasses one by one, but you have to be able to see them at the same time. Okay? So I believe this. So it's a test of perspective to be able to see multiple things at the same time. And I believe that so it took me. I had to go through the peeling of the onion through this and other images. So it was a journey itself for me. I think, I got the elephant. I had a few more. I think, I'm done. This is it. And then I'd find something else. And then I'd find something else.
Were you playing with the contrast of the picture and stuff and trying to do, did you process it?
I used the original contrast.
Okay.
I used the original contrast from Pedro Suarez, the Spanish photographer. Now, this thing is 10 meters across. Okay, this panel that you see right there.
Yeah.
So that elephant is life size.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's pretty
it's
cool.
huge. So it was a process for me, and some days I said I'm done, and I wake up in the morning. I'd wake up in the morning sometimes and see the images in my head. Sometimes I'd be driving down the highway and I'd call home and I'd say, hey, can you look at this for me? I think I saw something there, so it's all going on in the back of our minds. This is a psychological journey. In fact, this panel is in the deepest part of the cave system. Okay. Sorry, go on.
I just want to ask, because I'm looking at that elephant, the first elephant that you showed us. And then his trunk looks like to me, if you go to the right, it's almost like connected to a bird head, like a prehistoric bird head.
Very good, actually. That's good. Yeah, that's not in this slideshow.
Oh, so you have okay. I've just
Yeah, but yeah, there is actually it's a giant, a great auk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it looks like a bird head. So, okay, continue.
It's a now extinct bird. You're good that you could see that, by the way. I'm not buttering you guys up. I'm already in the show, but you guys are pretty good that you could see that.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
And so what you're doing is that your mind is opening up to the possibilities. And I believe that this panel was designed to do just that. We're going to jump. This one runs lengthwise down the panel. It's a speckled mare. And this particular horse is a Przewalski horse, which is indigenous to Eurasia.
Yeah.
Important. And I can recognize that by the funny kind of that doggish looking head, as well as the raised mane. And that's one of the unique characteristics. And the artists use those red discs to create like a speckled effect in the mare. Pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
And the head of this is going in the same, let's call it to the right direction as we had the horizontal image before. And that's important that we saw the right. Okay. And behind that that speckled mare is this cosmic man. This guy's really cool. A few things about him. One is it's a guy, as you can tell. He's missing his right leg and he's wearing a mask. Okay. And his mask shows a bird's head or the eagle coming out one side, and there's an eye towards the other side. And that eagle was the same juvenile eagle that was sitting on the shoulder of the teacher from the earlier slide. Okay, we'll return that in a minute. Right. So he creates this mask. He transforms into an eagle in this image. And in his right hand, he holds an egg. Okay, and I'll talk about this later. But this is the cosmic man. This guy's in the stars. And one of the things that we've seen the ancient alien programs and so on,
right.
And they talk about these archetypes: the cosmic man, the cosmic egg, the winged horse, and so on. Well, these images, these archetype images, go from a far distant time. And one of the beliefs in these ancient alien programs is that, well, if everybody around the world is telling the same story, maybe somebody told them each individually the story. Well, there's another approach to that the stories all came from the same place, and that's Paleolithic Europe more than 34,000 years ago. And I believe that these stories originated before they were etched into the walls of this cave. And so you kind of look at this guy. His left arm has the appearance of a bird's wing, like an eagle, and he holds the egg in his right hand. So this man has become an avionoid. He's become the bird man. He's become the angel of sorts. Or the many other depictions we see these birdmen in ancient civilizations as well as among hunter-gatherers. So is that a big wow, guys?
That's is a big wow. A big one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're like students sitting there and just listening to the teacher.
No, actually, I don't think the teacher told the apprentice this stuff, didn't have an hour to do. I think that the teacher sat the apprentice in front of it and asked him, what do you see?
Oh, okay.
And that ability to be able to see further, to see beyond the red discs, would have made someone a better teacher.
Right.
And this is an overlay of that horse in front of the cosmic man. And in this case, the horse picks up the wing of sorts. And this man, he kind of becomes attached to the horse, and maybe he's like he's a centaur or something. He becomes a centaur or something like that in mythology. And perhaps how ancient peoples had been to this cave, the Greeks and the Romans, they might have made that impression that the man became the horse.
Wow, that is a wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool, one over the other. Now we're gonna talk about this multiple perspectives again. And here we have the cosmic man. You can see off the viewer's left-hand side, he's got that beaked head, which is an eagle, and you can see his nose and his mouth kind of to the bottom. Well, if you flip him 90 degrees, he becomes the same face as the teacher.
What do you? So if you flip the
one on the left is that head.
Oh, I see it. I see it. Oh, I get it.
One is the mask and one is the teacher.
I get it. Okay.
So we have, just like the elephant, where we flip it, you have multiple perspectives. We have the same thing with this man. So the man the teacher who's whispering to the ear of the apprentice becomes the avionoid. He transforms into that character on this journey.
Okay.
So let's put this into perspective, okay?
Yep.
Modern art, as we know it, started Picasso, early 1900. Nothing like this existed before then in our history. So we don't find this type of work in the Egyptians. We don't find it in the Romans. Not this level of etching and imagination.
So you're saying there's like a 30,000 year gap?
There's a 30,000 year gap.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
And so there's this concept that time repeats itself. Well, it probably repeats itself because if there were geniuses then, if the geniuses today, they could have been geniuses then. And so as these geniuses come in and out of history, they find new things, or they innovate upon other things that they've seen. And they give us the great art and engineering and science and literature that we find today. So it's...
Hey, Bernie?
Yeah.
Are those red dots on there from the same time period? They almost seem like separate, like almost added on top of the drawings or the carvings. Do you know that they're dated the same?
Good question. Well, the dating of the panel came from mineral deposits that went over some of the red dots, and that's where they came up the 34,000 plus. Or in the panel the panel of hands, the first one I showed back when, the 40,000, they did it the same way. So the mineral deposits were able to date it. So then you're asking the question is obviously, so the dots had to come before the etching of these characters. Okay. But no one has gone back to date what deposits are over other parts of this image, because this is just out of the gate, right? I mean, it's only been a few months since the book came out, and this came out of left field for everybody. I'd worked on this for a long time. I had a very, very small number of people had seen these images. I paid for the rights to use these images from all the photographers, and I was afraid that someone might change their mind if they knew what I had. And so I sent me back my check. So we can look at those red discs again. And we find another case of transformation where this man that puts on the mask and becomes the Birdman. So this Birdman, this avianoid, this person that flies into the great beyond, and is the intermediary with the great mystery, is common in the Paleolithic record, and that becomes that spiritual form. It becomes that cosmic man, that person throughout time who transcends to another world. And the Birdman, the avianoid, is a common archetype. It's a character among hunter-gatherers, indigenous peoples all over the world. And so one of the ancient aliens people, they always said, well, if all these, they must have got it from somewhere. Well, I'm saying they got it from Paleolithic man at least 34,000 years ago, rather than someone, the Birdman, flying and telling them what it was. And we're gonna jump ahead, and we're gonna look at another slide here. And this one it's either a spinning dolphin or it's more than one dolphin. It's a bottlenose dolphin. So here, this is kind of in the middle of the panel, and so it's telling us we're in a marine environment. That's important. That's really important. A marine environment. And then next to him is a seal. So again, we're in a marine environment. Same part of the panel. So at the top of the panel, we had the head of the horse. Now we're moving in another direction where we have marine animals. And then we have this strong swimmer. It's a guy. When I first saw this guy, I thought he was climbing. And then when I recognized the dolphin, because I couldn't figure out what the dolphin was, because I was looking for terrestrial animals. I recognized it was a dolphin. Then boom, right away, this guy's a swimmer. And in that hero's journey, there's this night journey across water that is commonly taken. Jonah, of course, in the whale, and Odysseus in the Odyssey, on his last night, he travels by night back to his home. It's a common theme. It's a common archetype, that journey across water. And there's a really cool. You remember the Billy Joel song "River of Dreams"?
Yeah.
You guys, can you sing it?
Tony can.
No, you don't want to hear me sing.
Okay. Well, he talks. Billy Joel wakes up in the morning and he has this dream, a song in his head, and he can't get out. He just can't get it out. And he's going through the shower and and he gets out and he starts writing it down. And the story is about he goes to the river and he's afraid to cross what's on the other side. And symbolically, the other side is death. Okay. And Joel doesn't recognize this because he's not, a psychiatrist, psychologist, not in that world. But he also talks about the mountains of faith. And when Joel, he actually doesn't want to sing that song. It becomes a top record. He doesn't want to sing it because he says, I'm not a spiritual person. And he was like fighting to not become a spiritual person. But one perhaps can become a spiritual person without becoming a religious person by recognizing that perhaps these dreams are within us all. Okay? So there's that journey across water. And at the other end of the panel, from the opposite end from the cosmic man, we have this red-haired man, and he's wearing got this pelt around his neck. He also has, you can see a tinge of red in the back of his head. He's got long hair. Pretty cool image. He's holding a big club. So this is the opposite direction of the cosmic man going down the panel. And I'm going to pop up a few more. And if you connect the dolphin with the red-haired man, it looks like he's lifting him into the night. It didn't happen, okay? It happens at SeaWorld, but it did happen in Paleolithic Europe. But people might have told these stories that it did happen. And people might have swum with dolphins. In the ancient record, Pliny the Elder tells us that people swam across treacherous rivers with dolphins. Okay? And in that same end of the panel with the red-haired man, we find these two giraffes. And it's a juvenile with its neck wrapped around the presumably mother. And the artist used the red dots to create that molted pattern.
Hey, so Bernie, can I ask you a question here?
Yeah, good question. Go on.
I want to know, okay, so now you're talking about this, and we're in the north of Spain, almost to France at this point, right?
We're near, exactly.
Okay, well, and they have pictures of elephants and giraffes. That seems out of place for this area, right? Those animals wouldn't be anywhere near there. The dolphin barely would be near there.
So let's track this. So we started with the horse that was indigenous to Eurasia. He takes the journey across water where he finds the swimmer has the dolphin and he encounters the seal. If you go south across the Strait of Gibraltar, where are you?
Africa.
You're in Western North Africa. And at that time in Western North Africa, it was humid. And they were giraffes in Morocco today. And they were hippopotamus and alligators and everything else you could imagine with the savannah.
Seems like an odd place to see these. So this guy must have journeyed there, and now he's telling the story of seeing these creatures.
Yes.
Interesting.
So now you guys are telling the story. So what you're doing is you're recognizing this archetypal story, these characters, and the story is now being evoked to you because you know the theme.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a Seinfeld that was done way back when, and they did the program backwards. I'm not sure if you remember.
Of course.
Well, people didn't get it because they couldn't carry the story. They couldn't follow the story. And this hero's journey, this monomyth, that the person goes on an adventure, it's the story we sort of walk into. We get it. I saw a TriStar movie a few weeks ago, and at the opening of the film, there's the winged horse Pegasus, who's inviting you to fly away on this adventure through the movie. And we find another African animal, it's the Barbary macaque. And that picture of the Barbary macaque at the bottom there, this is on, let's call it the southern end. We're calling now the African end. Mm-hmm. But the Barbary macaque is now also in Gibraltar. It's been there for the last few hundred years. Did you guys ever see one of those before?
No.
The macaque?
Yes, you have. Remember Living Daylights with Pierce Brosnan? Remember the opening scene?
Oh.
No, I didn't see it, but...
So you guys haven't seen all the Bond movies 20 times?
I didn't watch it after Roger Moore.
Okay.
Until the recent one.
So Pierce Brosnan, one of the 00s is knocked off by a bad guy. Pierce Brosnan chases him down the mountain in a car, and the Barbary macaques jump popping off the windshield. So that's kind of the world's first encounter with the Barbary macaque. But the Barbary macaque is indigenous to the Atlas Mountains of Western North Africa. It's not a European animal. So then we're back to this concept of the North Africa. And here's another African image we have a female lioness licking or nuzzling up to a lion. He has a big mane. Now there were lions in Europe at the time, but they didn't have manes. And this guy's pretty cool because he has those paws like overlapping each other at the bottom.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
And
Here's another question for you, Bernie. It seems like it's not like as you go through this story and these travels, it's not like these are separate panels. Here was this, here was this. These images are all like piled on top of one another, it seems.
Yeah, you guys are getting ahead of me. You're
I'm
3
sorry.
slides away. You're 3 slides. But, what you're doing is they are piled on top of each other. And the artists use pieces of one animal to make, something of another animal.
That's a lot of thought.
It feels like you could weave this to different stories. Like I could tell this slide presentation, and if I went a different direction, I could tell a different story.
And I think that's what the Greeks and Romans did. So the Greeks and Romans went in and they saw the man connected to the horse as Chiron, or the Greeks saw it as Chiron, and the Egyptians saw it as somebody else. The Egyptians probably saw the avianoid which became Horus. So everybody kind of got their own interpretation based on what they saw and the overlapping images. But we can still carry it across the sky, or carry it across the land as a continuous terrestrial story. And here we have this lizard, and the artist uses the red dots to create the molted pattern or stripes. And again, I can't say with it. And at the bottom of the image, we have a female. Notice she has red hair, braided red hair.
Right.
Can you guys see anything in her face? She tell you? What is she telling you?
Well, to me, it looks like an old woman.
Okay.
But
Tony, you look like an old woman to me.
She
So.
wouldn't have that firm chin. The old woman wouldn't have that firm chin.
Okay.
She wouldn't have those firm cheeks. But what is that face? What is the expression telling you?
That's hard for me to see. But.
Well, if I'm just interpreting what I see, it's sadness.
Exactly. And so the story, when this damsel in distress is encountered, the story is evoked. That's excellent.
Yeah.
She does look like she's in distress.
Right.
I put this image up on Facebook a month or two ago, and I had thousands of people call it on my own page, called it spam, offensive, and all these sort of things, and they kicked me off of Facebook for posting anything
because
for
of
2
that
weeks.
picture.
That image, yeah. So there's something about this image, so that the woman in distress that bothered people.
Wow.
And remember that Facebook is an international medium.
Right.
So perhaps people in the United States weren't so offended by it, or maybe there's somebody somewhere else in the world. But that image was the image of the woman in distress. So we're gonna kind of this concept. Everything kind of goes in a row, and we're gonna start the top image. And this is a June night sky as we compare it with the image. A at the top is Hercules, so that becomes our cosmic man. B is Aegea, the eagle, who the cosmic man picks up to get his wings. C is Pegasus, the horse. The three connect. D is Pisces, who we found as the dolphin. E is actually, see, D becomes E is Pisces. F is Cetus, who we found as a sea lion, and the Greeks saw as a sea monster. G is Perseus, which became could be the swimmer or the body of the elephant. H becomes is Aruga, the head or ear of the elephant. I becomes Taurus, the trunk of the elephant. J is the lynx, which I didn't show you, which could either be the body of the lynx that's in that area or the trunk of the elephant from another perspective, because remember we've seen elephants moving around.
Right.
M is Gemini, which is that blockhead you saw of the lioness.
So you think this is like an early zodiac?
Well, it's the constellations. We're going to carry that. So these are the constellations of the night sky that were seen at that time as well as pretty much today. So they are the constellations of the zodiac, but it's not the zodiac. This is long before there was zodiac. So M is Gemini. Well, it could be we say the lioness or the eyes of the Barbary macaw. L is Leo, the lion. And then N becomes Orion, who's at the other end of the night sky. So at that time period when Hercules is setting, Orion is rising. They were north to south, just as you saw the red-haired man and the cosmic man on two ends of the spectrum. So are they the zodiac? Can't say. But I can say that they were tracking these constellations from very early time. The Greeks borrowed them and put them into their own mythology. But so this journey this person takes is not just of traveling from the horse that we found in Eurasia. I'm sorry, all the way to the giraffe we found in Africa. It's a journey of the night sky as well. And the individual could tell this story. He could tell the apprentice knew the story before he even took the journey, but he could track his way by looking at the night sky. So the earth and sky become one, as in the Hermetic tradition. I believe that warrants a question. Or a wow.
So when I'm looking at this, so you discovered this, right? You said you discovered the zodiac signs or the constellations.
Correct.
Man.
Well, actually, I found all the images that you've seen today. Actually, anything besides red discs on this panel was my work. Now, I don't like to use the word discover because someone made this a long time ago. Right. The Greeks saw it, so did they rediscover it? And so let's say I connected the dots.
It feels like it could be other interpretations of some of these, though, doesn't it? Or no?
Okay, give me one.
Well, I can't. It's just some of these are harder for me to see. We were looking at the screen. It seems like it's hard to tell exactly what that is.
Which one?
Several of them. I mean,
okay.
Just in general, I feel like some of these are like obviously the elephant. Some of these ones are really defined. Some of these other ones could be, well, that might be a fish, could be a dolphin, could be, I don't know. It just feels like there's a lot of
the constellations for me. That's
constellation
the ones,
part's tough.
Of course, I couldn't look in the sky and tell you what they look like anyway. So,
but once you get a few, it would make
now.
sense that the next ones are there.
Mid-June, you can look at the night sky from dusk to dawn, and if you can remember all the animals that I just showed you, you can find your way through the night sky.
Okay.
Wow.
From dusk till dawn. You can do it now.
Amazing.
So this becomes a visual aid. So you, in your head from this presentation I just did, you can follow the constellations.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty amazing though. I mean, I just when you separate it and say, "Wow, that's like the animals and the."
It would make sense that they would write that down too. 40,000 years ago.
Back then they didn't have a lot of paper and pen to write things down. So
because they told it through the myths,
right?
They carried it through the myths, and that's that hero's journey. So it's kind of interesting that this hero's journey of Luke Skywalker, he travels through space and he meets all these characters. It's sort of like a mirror of the Paleolithic record and these myths that are told. Now, is this amazing? It's amazing that millions of people looked at this and didn't see it, but it's not really that amazing because hunter-gatherers came across the Bering Strait. 25,000 years ago, they lived up in what was Beringia, now underwater. They were up there 25,000 years ago. They had many of these type of myths before they came over. And so many of the characters, such as they identify Orion, they identify Sirius as dog, Pleiades as a group of women. They have the same, the people, the hunter-gatherers in the United States, Native Americans, have almost identical myths as people have in ancient Europe as well as in the ancient Mediterranean.
Right.
So what we're saying that is not that so this shouldn't be to a surprise because Native Americans had it when we arrived. So it came from somewhere. What it says is that we've kind of, by us counting the dots and getting all wrapped up in that sort of concept, we don't see the forest through the trees, or in this case, the savanna through the red discs. And so it's really about introspection of ourselves. And what Jung did when he went into the cave, he recognized that the deepest part of our mind, our consciousness, came from the Paleolithic. And what we have done in our modern times is we have this belief that we invent everything, and that knowledge is a succession of information, one thing built on the other. But we forget that people had knowledge in the past, a different kind of knowledge perhaps, a knowledge that we've left behind us.
Are you sort of saying that that these stories, instead of an alien came down and stopped at 4 different places and told everybody the same story, that this is more of like the collective unconscious, that we have that deep in our recesses of our brain, that it's like almost like the Akashic records or whatever, that we tap into something primal.
Exactly, but it's in our brains. It's not floating out there.
Right.
Now I said I was going to take it a little bit of Picasso, and Picasso is important. So Picasso, we're going to look at Les Dames d'Avignon, which is the first Cubism, and the first image of modern art through Picasso, and compare it to the masks in the Altamira Cave. Now, these Altamira Cave masks have been seen, for over 100 years. Okay, so they're not new. But the connection to the Picasso's artwork is a new introduction, and Picasso took these masks, which have been categorized as horses, and he took the metaphor and carried them into his image. So Picasso looked into our past. He saw the images and he brought them into a new place. In modern art. So modern art is not very modern art. It's really Paleolithic art. But Picasso transferred what he found within these characters. He saw the horses. He connected them with the females. The most common image of the horses in the Paleolithic are female mares. And so he found that, and he brought it to us to make modern art. So what and here's another one Picasso borrows. This is the central horse in his Guernica. Of course, a much larger panel, and it compares to the pregnant mare in Grotte Père non Père, 25,000 years ago. So Picasso's brilliant because he borrows the metaphor. And again, another Picasso's image, we see a birdman, and that compares to a birdman with a vulture type of mask, a bearded vulture, from the same caves, the same panel in the cave. So you see those kind of awkward legs and the big, strong arms and the big chest. Picasso had seen this and he carried it forth. So Picasso, but remember he has the archetype. The image that Picasso shows is a curtain design for a play. He's showing the Birdman.
Yeah, I can see that. I totally can see the connection.
Okay, we're going to compare that to what an archaeologist, how he saw it. Probably 60 years ago. So the image I just showed you is to your right, the viewer's right, and you can find it Birdman again. You look to the left was the work of an archaeologist, Abbé Breuil, and his work became the record for Paleolithic art from which archaeologists draw their foundations from. He kind of misses a lot of those lines, doesn't he?
Yeah, I can see. Yeah.
So how does he miss it?
I'm gonna get this a little bit closer so people can see it.
So how does he miss all those lines? Or why does he miss all those lines?
How did he miss it, Ron?
I don't know.
I honestly I don't.
I'm assuming he had his own, judgment cloud instead of just copying it.
Exactly. That's what it is. So I'll pop to the next slide because as I say it, we individually project our psyche onto the cosmos and all the animal beings and geological and meteorological formations that are encountered. In the case of the Abbey, he doesn't want to see a Birdman because he doesn't want to see a religion that far back in time. He doesn't want to see angels, and so he doesn't want to. So he actually sees it, but he doesn't want to recognize it's there, and so the world for 80 years doesn't recognize that these birdmen can be that far, or the formation of an actual religion.
Pretty interesting.
So how do what is history? History is based on the interpretations of the few,
right?
And some of them are, the Abbey went in and maybe saw it, maybe didn't, but if he didn't see it because he didn't want to recognize it could be there, because it didn't fit in with his belief system. And it's not and that we can look at that with many disciplines, whether it be religion or science and so on. We look at the gallery of discs and we see these red discs. we don't want to look beyond it because we can't imagine someone in the Paleolithic times, 34,000 years ago, could have created anything besides the red discs. And so it's self-projection, and that goes back to the work of Jung. Jung said that we project our psyche into the cosmos, and when we project ourselves in the cosmos, we find aliens, we find all kinds of beings, and they are there. They're there in our imagination. So it's all real, and it's how we tell the stories. It's how we self-actualize. It's how we share our common knowledge that's all within ourselves.
Wow. Well, we have about 3 minutes left, and I'm curious, like when we do stuff now, we really put things on canvas and on carving stone and everything for the generations to come. Do you feel like they were doing this for the generations to come, or were they just expressing their art?
I believe that the shamanic apprentices for many thousands of years entered the cave. And they went through, this is the deepest part of the cave. And other images I found were also into the deepest part of the caves. And they went into the deepest part of the cave and they were challenged with these images. So they're like textbooks. But it wasn't that, and they took a test. And if you didn't pass the test, you didn't become the spiritual leader. You became a fisherman or a hunter or something else. But so I believe that these are psychological tests, as Jung explored through his own dreams. And now we see through the connection with the hero's journey monomyth of Joseph Campbell that we can find this first journey of mankind that dates far into our past.
And now 40,000 years later, Bernie has passed this test.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, I passed the test. Well, it took me a few years, and if I stood there before this panel with a candlelight, and I had minutes or hours to do it, I would have failed.
I know I would have. But it's amazing though that you had the patience to and the curiosity to stay there and really and to research this and
how's the scientific
decipher.
Community embracing this? Are they?
How is that?
Well, it's mixed. I did a presentation on university this past Tuesday. It'll be posted on YouTube early next week before orion.com, so that the dot is actually DOT. And there's other programs being set up. I can see who's liking, loving, following, sharing, and all that sort of stuff on social media, and it's across the board. There's a lot of money involved in this whole thing because all of a sudden you have, you got Picasso images in Paleolithic caves, so you have a whole new tourism group that might be interested in going to Altamira. You have people who, they've been to these caves before. It's like, I want to go back and see the elephant. So this is big business. And I hope someday that there'll be like documentaries and such. And you guys are down in Hollywood. You have any friends? I'd love to talk to them.
That would be awesome. Well,
get on that, Tony.
Yeah, like I know anybody. No, just kidding.
Bernie, that was fascinating.
That was very fascinating. We really enjoyed it, and we want to appreciate you being on Truth Be Told.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'd love to come back someday.
Oh, anytime. Anytime. Well, thank you so much.
Find some more caves.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, there's more in the book. You guys, I'll send you I'll send you the Kindle editions of the book.
Oh, awesome.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, we'd appreciate it. And people go to beforeorion.com, and we want you guys to support him and follow him and even just research yourself. And then
also go to truthbetold.com because we now have a website.
webtv.com.
And brand new today, you can download our new app, Truth Be Told. Take Ron and Tony with you.
On Apple Store. Find it on Truth Be Told. So
we
appreciate you guys. Until next time. This is
happy
Tony
birthday,
Sweet.
Dean Ryan.
Oh, happy birthday, Dean. You guys wish him a happy birthday. And thank you again, Bernie. We appreciate you.
Thanks for the show.
All right. Talk to you soon. All right. We're out of here. Till next time. I'm Tony Sweet.
Captain Ron.
Bye. Truth Be Told.